Right now, we are in the middle of a modern-day gold rush. But it's not for metal, it's for code. AI frameworks like LangChain and AutoGen, which let you build entire teams of AI agents, have absolutely exploded onto the scene. They promise to solve these incredibly complex problems by making AIs work together. But with all this frantic speed, a really critical question pops up.
So the big question is, are these revolutionary new tools actually being built on solid ground? Or is all this rapid expansion just creating a fragile foundation that's going to crumble later? And look, this is a question that really matters to anyone who's building with, or even just relying on, this next generation of AI.
Well, to get some answers, a recent study did something that's never been done before. For the very first time, a team of researchers conducted this huge investigation into the development of these multi-agent AI systems, giving us a completely unfiltered look at how the sausage is actually being made. So let's dive into what they found.
All right, so the researchers decided to crack open the code bases of the biggest names in the game. They wanted to see how they're really being built, day in and day out.
So here are the players in our investigation. 8 of the most popular multi-agent systems, or MAS frameworks out there. We're talking about absolute heavy hitters like LangChain, which is over 100,000 stars on GitHub, right alongside other big names like AutoGen and CrewAI. These platforms are basically the backbone of this whole new ecosystem.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, it is immense. The researchers dug through more than 42,000 individual code changes, or commits, to understand exactly how these systems are evolving.
And they didn't stop at the code. They also analyzed over 4,700 issues reported by actual users, which gives us this fantastic window into the real-world problems and growing pains that people are facing.
So, what did all this digging actually uncover? Well, the first major discovery was that not all projects are built the same way. Not even close. The data revealed 3 very different styles of building, almost like uncovering 3 different builder personalities.
Okay, check this out, because this part is fascinating. It's all about what the developers are actually spending their time on. As you can see, the single biggest slice of the pie, almost 41%, is what's called perfective work. In plain English, that means adding shiny new features. Bug fixes, or corrective work, comes in second. So the message is pretty clear. Right now, the race is all about adding more features, not necessarily more stability.
And really, this quote from the research paper just says it all, doesn't it? It states it plainly. Across the board, feature enhancement is prioritized over corrective maintenance. I mean, this is the classic move fast and build things philosophy in action.
So by looking at the pace and the consistency of all that development work, the researchers started to see these distinct profiles emerge. It tells a really interesting story about how mature and stable each of these projects really is.
So let's just look at the 2 extremes to see what I mean. On one side, you have the steady veteran. Think of a project like Haystack, which shows this consistent, predictable growth year after year. It's built for the long haul, like a marathon runner. But then, on the other side, you get the brilliant sprinter, like CrewAI, which had this intense, massive burst of activity and then kind of went quiet.
And the data makes this difference crystal clear. This chart shows what's called a development consistency score, and you want a low score here. Haystack is nice and steady at 48.6, but CrewAI, whoa, it's nearly 10 times higher at 456.1. That incredibly high score represents extreme volatility, a short, frantic sprint, not a steady marathon.
Okay, so we know how these things are being built, but what kinds of problems are users actually running into out in the wild? Well, analyzing all those reported issues gives us a really clear picture of the ecosystem's overall health.
So here's what people are struggling with. Number 1 at 22% is just plain old bugs. But look at number 2, infrastructure. We're talking about things like build systems, dependencies, just making the tool work on different computers. See, these aren't some kind of fancy futuristic AI problems. These are fundamental Software 101 challenges. And here's where it all came to a head. Starting in 2023, the number of reported issues didn't just grow, it went completely vertical, like a hockey stick across all of these frameworks. This signals the exact moment these tools exploded from niche projects into the mainstream. And that's when the pressure on their foundations really began to show.
So, if you do find a problem, how long are you going to have to wait for a fix? Well, the answer varies a lot. On a platform like Llama Index, the median time to get a fix is about 1 day. Pretty good, right? But for others, like Semantic Kernel, you could be waiting more than 10 days. This kind of inconsistency really shows the fragility in the ecosystem's ability to support its users.
So, when you put all these different clues together, a pretty clear verdict starts to emerge.
The researchers found two powerful but opposing forces at play in this AI gold rush.
And this brings us right to the core tension of the whole story. On one hand, you have this incredible momentum. We're talking explosive growth, a constant fire hose of new features, and this massive, excited community. But pushing right back against that is the system's fragility, the reality of foundational bugs, infrastructure headaches, and wildly inconsistent support.
So let's just boil this all down. What are the key things to take away from this? First, this whole ecosystem is in a hyper-growth phase, and it's all about shipping new features as fast as possible. Second, the way these tools are built is all over the map. You've got your steady marathon runners and your volatile sprinters. Third, and this one is huge, a lot of the problems users are facing aren't even about AI, they're about the basic nuts and bolts of software. And finally, the bottom line is, while the ecosystem is definitely growing up, anyone jumping in today needs to be prepared for some pretty significant growing pains. This leaves us with one last, really crucial question. The momentum is undeniable, and it's super exciting, but this investigation proves that the fragility is just as real. So as we all race to build our future on these incredible AI systems, we have to stop and ask ourselves, is this growth at all costs mindset the right foundation for tools that we really want to last?